talking to Auburn football. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speak Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger. Now, I like this stuff, man. I like the fun stuff and having some of the Auburn fans on to the podcast to give their opinions and insight. But we got a special guest on tonight that is more than just an Auburn enthusiast. He's actually connected in ways with the program. Want to introduce Joe Toles. Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Hey, how you doing? First of all, I'd just like to say I'm truly honored for you having me on the show. I've been watching the show for a few months now, and I'm very appreciative of the non-biased content that you have, and it's very, very, very insightful, and love it. Love your show, and I appreciate you having me on.
Man, I appreciate you as well, man. You got a lot of platforms that you comment on, a lot of platforms that you have created yourself. Tell me a little bit about those platforms that the fans out there could take advantage of coming into this season.
Well, you got All About Auburn. You got War Eagle Nation. It's a few of them that you just have to find it's a bunch of groups that's on Facebook. You just have to find them. Um, Click on them and see if you like what you like. You know what I'm saying? Some of them are great groups, and some of them just aren't for everyone. I say that much.
And one thing that I've always appreciated about, especially in our commentary as we talk on the back end a lot, is that you have a high level of political correctness. You're not trying to offend anybody. You're just trying to be fair about the depiction and the perception of the Auburn Tigers, which is something that you don't see a lot of because Auburn is not one of those high-profile programs like your Michigans and your Ohio States and your Alabamas and a lot of times Auburn is more of a regional type team to where they I think Auburn gets a bad rap sometimes. But we're gonna get right into this now. The first question I have for you is you and I have talked a lot about Bo Nix, for example. And
Yes,
I'm a guy that, catches myself compared. I look at Bo Nix and one week I'm comparing him to Joe Burrow. The next week I'm comparing him to somebody else. What is your general take on how we should approach Bo Nix coming into the 2020 season?
Well, me personally, far as with the masses, I don't like comparing players to other players because I like looking at players as them having their own identity. However, you can't get away from it. You can't get away from the comparisons because certain players have a certain type of game which mimics and looks like another player that we've probably seen before. Me personally, looking at how Bo Nix can throw and run, I compare him to a young Aaron Rodgers. That's just me. Because I know you say Joe Burrow, as far as Bo can make every throw. However, Bo's a better runner than Joe is.
Now, do you think it's a possibility? Because I look at Joe Burrow's game and he scrambles in a very educated kind of way, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And
Yes.
and I think that Bo Nix could pattern some portions of Joe Burrow's poise and his ability to see lanes not only running but create opportunities down the field. Do you think Auburn has put Bo Nix in a position to where he can do that up to this point?
Well, a lot of people don't believe in Chad Morris. However, comma pause, has if anyone has ever watched Arkansas play last year, granted we all know Arkansas does not have the talent level that Auburn has or any of the other top tier SEC teams. The defense that Auburn had last year was bar none one of the best defenses in the nation, yet alone the SEC. And if you watch that Auburn and Arkansas game, the way the offense was designed and how Chad Morris had that offense was moving down the ball. Was moving the ball downfield. It's going to be very, very interesting for other teams when they play Auburn because if Gus Malzahn does the hands-off approach and let Chad Morris do what he do, it's going to get real ugly, especially with the weapons that we have on offense. And a lot of people don't think the offensive line is going to be where it needs to be. If you followed Auburn and watch, especially when the second team get in a little bit and watch how some of them play, if we put the right pieces together on the offensive line, it's going to be devastating for a lot of defenses. They're going to get culture shocked real quick.
And see, I like the fact that you mentioned the Auburn offensive line. I think the fact that you look at last year, you got two players on that offensive line that are actually playing pro football now. When I look at that offensive line, I look at a bunch of guys that are talented, but were just not systematically. They just didn't gel together as a unit. The individuals didn't gel together as a unit. And sometimes I remember playing football in high school. We had a really talented team in 1996. And we were probably one of the more talented teams in our high school's history, but the chemistry just didn't gel. And that's what I feel about the Auburn offensive line from last year. They didn't have that chemistry. They didn't have that dog effect. They weren't in attack mode. So I think that kind of and they didn't have discipline. Had a lot of penalties and inopportune times. Had a lot of turnovers. Whether it was a missed snap to Bo Nix in the LSU game when Bo Nix was clearly moving the ball down the field. I think at times an inexperienced offensive line put Auburn an experience a line that you expected to be experienced and veteran really put Auburn in a disposition, especially in some of the big games. So I think you're absolutely right. I think the offensive line will not be the Achilles heel going into this season. Now, you and I really talked about a very interesting player on the Auburn defense. One of my favorite players on the Auburn defense. This guy has moxie. This guy has swag. He will come up and hit you. He has star power. He wants to make the big plays, sometimes at a fault. And we're talking about Christian Tutt. Now, you talked about Christian Tutt. And you are a fan, from what I can gather, you are for lack of a better way of putting it, you seem to be a fan of Christian Tutt. But tell me what you think about Christian Tutt and whether he's either out of position or where do you think he best fits into this Auburn defense?
Oh, old sweet feet. I say this much. I've been following Tutt because well, you asked me earlier to talk about myself a little bit. I kind of shied away from it, but I was I'm medically
I'm gonna put
retired.
you on the spot now. I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Yeah, I'm medically retired out of the military, and
Okay.
when I was from 2011 to to November of 2013, I was stationed in Augusta, Georgia, at Fort Gordon, and one of my good friends, but big brother to him, his name Timothy Merriweather. He knows Christian Tutt dad, and Tim told me before Tutt actually committed, he was like, "Hey, you got a good one coming," blase blase. And I kind of followed Tutt from that point on. But me and Tim used to talk about Tutt and watch him in high school. I was like, well, why is he playing corner? He should be a free safety. You know what I mean? Or he has the talent to play corner. If he's corner, I think he should play boundary. But as far as the nickel, love Tutt to death, but his hips are a little tight. Hips are a little bit too tight. I think he should play safety. That's another story as far as moving smoke to strong and putting Sherwood at linebacker, outside linebacker. That's another story. We'll talk about that later on.
Yeah, that's a different interview right there.
No, but I'm gonna say this much, and I'm gonna move on because it's gonna probably be a lot of Auburn fans gonna be like, "What the world is he talking about?" But if anybody knows who Shaq Thompson is, look at Sherwood, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But I just feel like Tutt should play either boundary, or he should play, or if not free safety or boundary, he should play the same role that Robinson Therese played, where he was around the line a lot and just coming up and bashing people because Tutt will take your head off.
I remember the play against Florida where he came up and in kind of that Robinson Therese, they call that the star position. To
Oh
where
yeah.
it's not quite a nickel, it's not quite a linebacker, but it's kind of like a spy sort of to where
Oh Rob.
yeah. And Robinson Therese made a lot of big plays in that intermediate portion of the football field. So Christian Tutt, it'll be very interesting to see where we put him. He has such a diverse level of talent. He was recruited. Matter of fact, Ohio State was all but it was either Ohio State or Nebraska that were really excited about the prospect of Tutt coming there, but he wound up committing to Auburn, and it's actually been a benefit to Auburn because he's a really good punt returner. Sometimes he kind of misreads the. I hope he improves in that area because once he
No.
does field the football, he makes some pretty good plays, but at times he's been a detriment in that area. What you think about that?
Now I'm gonna say this much. I think Tutt, as far as him returning punts, once he has the ball in his hand, he's dangerous. It's just a situation when he gets, okay, should I catch it? Should I just move?
Oh
Should I let
man.
it go? However, comma pause, when we talking about punt returning, there are a bunch of guys on our roster that can actually return punts because I'm one of those type people that feel like, okay, he's on defense. Instead of keeping him out there, and he's a vital player on the defense. Why keep him out there and chance him getting hurt on special teams? I'm one of them people I don't like when offensive players play special teams. I mean, granted, okay, they do it, no problem. That's what they're supposed to do. But if you're a starter, no, minimize his time on the field outside, offense. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, we have freshmen that could go out there and get some playing time experience, like Javarius
Yep.
Johnson. That's somebody that, hey, let him return punts, let him return kickoffs. We got Shivers. You know what I mean? It's a lot of players we got that could get back there and return punts. Matthew Hill was one that should have been back there last year. Um, Auburn, the issue that we're gonna have this upcoming season, I'm gonna say it now, and I'm gonna continue to say it. The problem that Auburn is gonna have is we only have one football. So much talent on offense. We only got one football. Who gonna get the ball?
Now you asked that question. I look back to the 2013 season, where statistically it looked like Auburn did a pretty good job of spreading the ball around. You talk about the running game where you had, you know,
Trey
guys
Mason
that
had like
Trey Mason had
1,800 yards.
1,800 yards. You had another guy, having I can't think of the name right now.
Cameron Artis Payne.
Cameron Artis Payne having another 800 yards. They were able to move the ball around even in the passing game, able to distribute the ball. What would keep Auburn from being able to duplicate that in this particular season?
Themselves.
So you think there's a possibility that you know Auburn could be in a position to where you have so much talent that you're not able to effectively distribute the football in a way that I think Auburn could average like 35, 40 points a game. What you think?
I think 42.
Yeah.
Looking looking at the way, if anybody and everybody that's an Auburn fan, go back and watch Chad Moore's offense. And look what he did. Granted, people look like, oh my God, they didn't put that many points up on the board. Watch the film. Don't watch the highlights. Watch the small stuff. Watch how many moving pieces they got as far as with the receivers and how the running backs move, how the line run to one side, shift to another side. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
Right.
small things that people that need to watch. Not just watch highlights, but actually watch film.
I think about Auburn versus Arkansas last year. And I think about Arkansas's utilization of the tight end. I think about how they schematically tried to utilize the running back. And they actually had a pretty good scheme. If Arkansas had any level of defense, you probably looking at a different type of game. I think Auburn still wins the game, but I don't think they win it running out of the stadium because I'm like you. I'm looking at the X's and O's of Chad Morris, and when he was hired as an offensive coordinator, and revisiting that Arkansas game, Arkansas out schemed a very good Auburn defense on a lot of occasions, but just didn't. I just don't think he had the talent that he needed to execute his offense to a high level. So that's where I think Auburn fans and even Arkansas fans who look at Auburn and say, "Man, y'all ain't getting nothing with Chad Morris. He wasn't able to do it at Arkansas."
They they don't even really believe that. They just bitter.
Yeah.
That's all it is. They don't really believe that.
But man, one of my favorite subjects to talk about, very controversial subject, and it always, you know, kind of it's kind of like a straight line within the Auburn fan base. Auburn has a very good color combination, and you can remix that Auburn jersey to make it look really slick. And when you really
Oh, wait a
start
minute
talking,
now. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You gotta be careful with that subject now.
I'm coming
You
with
know,
it now.
hey, you gotta be careful with that. So you know that
I'm
subject is real.
oh man, but when I
Woo-hoo-hoo.
remember I did a
Man,
video some months ago, and I talked about alternative. Is it time? As a matter of fact, I think I've done so many of these damn videos, but that video, if I remember right, was is it time for Auburn to transition to a certain level of alternate uniforms? And when I put that video out, if I go, I'm kind of scared to go back and look at. I'm kind of scared to go back and look at the comments because you're gonna have some stuff like, "Oh man, you shouldn't." Okay, I get all that. Now, coming from Joe Toles, someone who is very well versed in the Auburn culture, you know a lot of folks. See, you and I have talked. You know a lot of folks within the Auburn program, so that's documented.
man.
My favorite uniform is the white. We can wear the white uniform every week, no matter where we play.
Stormtroopers. Stormtroopers.
So let me ask you this: what is your take on an Auburn alternate uniform? Do you think it's something that? How do you think that would be beneficial outside of what the fans think, or outside of what even? I'm gonna let you answer this question because the reason why I'm dancing around this because I know this is a touchy subject.
Okay.
What do you think about Auburn alternate uniforms?
I got I got I got 3 points to this. The first point I'm gonna go ahead and get it out so people can understand this. Number one, the uniform is not for the fans. The uniform is not for the alumnus. The uniform are for the current players. And a lot of the Auburn fans fail to realize that. They're the ones that have to wear this. You see what I'm saying? They're the ones that put this on. They go out there, whether if it's basketball, whether if it's football, whether if it's softball, equestrian, swimming, the uniforms are for those athletes. We as the fans, we just love the uniform because it's Auburn.
Yep.
Now, with that being said, I personally think right now, if Auburn was to only switch brands, we would be fine. I feel like if we was to go to Jumpman, recruits would flock. Keep the uniform the same. Just add get rid of that underarm, please. Get rid of it. It's something going on. The reason why the owner he bailed, he jumped ship. However, common pause back on the uniform. I don't see an issue with adding a uniform. Not taking away, not changing what we have going right now, adding one and only wearing it probably once a year when we play like Missouri double A undercut, one university, one of them types. And when we play Samford, when we play Alabama and Alabama State. You know what I mean? I don't see nothing wrong with having a chrome helmet, but however, a lot of the traditionalists, they don't like it. They might be afraid of change. I don't know. But it's whatever I feel like whatever the players want, that's what the players should get.
Now let me ask you this. Now Georgia decided with the all black uniforms.
Who?
Georgia, they decided with the all black uniforms against Alabama, I think, and against Auburn. What would be the issue with going with an alternative uniform against a profile rival type team? What would you have against that?
I don't have against Auburn doing anything with a uniform.
Okay.
I feel like when it comes to the uniforms, find a compromise with the traditionalists. For those that don't want to change uniform or add one, or with the blue jerseys, add orange stitching around the numbers or something simple, because a lot of them had an uproar about this, with 5%, it was changed. Someone, but anyway, so I don't see an issue with it. Like I said, whatever the players want to do, I'm down for just whatever. I
Okay.
support the players, support the team, and that's just how I'm just gonna support the team regardless.
I'll tell you what, man. Joe Toles, man. This initial interview, I'm definitely excited about more interviews to come. We didn't even come with the steam that you and I both that the fans don't even know what we got in store for them coming into this particular season. But this was a great initial video, man. I love your insight. I'll tell you what, we're gonna put this video out. Anything you would like to add before we leave, Joe? As far as the Auburn fan base goes, and anything related to Auburn at this point.
I don't think I want to say to the fan base is we need to come together as one. We need to stop bickering against one another. We're not Bama. We're not Georgia. We're none of those other teams. We're Auburn. Auburn of one. We're a family. We need to come together stronger and get ready to talk so much junk to everybody else because we about to bust head this year. Oh yeah, watch and
And
see.
and like I said, I totally agree with you, man. Especially when it comes to the camaraderie of Auburn. You know, in the Auburn Creed it says, "Because the men and women of Auburn believe in these things, I believe in Auburn and love it." That's why I love talking to the Auburn fans and really getting some insight on this particular channel. Man, love having Joe Toles on. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. We're talking Auburn football on a high level. Go ahead and like this video. Click the bell twice so you can get all of the notifications. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.
War Eagle.